Hey, fearless friends, it's Amy Schmidt, and I am back today with an amazing episode. I didn't say exciting, I said amazing, because this was going to be amazing. And you know what we talk about so often in life is, especially as women, we go through life in circles. We truly do. We choose comfort over courage. And a lot of times, if we would just open our circles to a horseshoe, that's what it's all about. And today, we're going to be talking about one of those F words, fearlessly facing. We're facing fashion today. But even more importantly, I think you will see through this conversation that everybody has such an interesting story. And when you open your circle to a horseshoe and you allow those conversations to flow and you listen to the story that that person is telling you, magic happens. So I'm super excited today to have with me someone I just met. How crazy is that to all the listeners and viewers? I literally just met through one of my best friends. I'd like you to meet Karla Murguia. I got it right?
Yes.
I even said Murguia. Like, I'm so thrilled to welcome you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Amy.
You're so welcome. And it's funny because we had coffee yesterday.
Yes.
And, I said choosing comfort over courage. Choosing courage over comfort is really what it's about, right?
Yes.
We need to be more courageous. We need to open the dialogue with people that you just never know where it's going to go.
Yes.
Yeah. So Karla has an amazing story. So we're going to talk about that. And Karla is a fashion designer that has just an incredible passion that aligned with her purpose. So let's dig into it. So first of all, just do a little brief intro, maybe, 30, 45 seconds of who you are for everybody out there watching.
Well, Karla Murguia.
Love the way you say that.
Karla Murguia from Mexico, from my hometown is Guadalajara. I lived there until I was in Mexico City. I did my career there until I decided to, I was working for Elle magazine. I was a digital editor there. And then one day I said, this is not what I want to stay. I want to just do something bigger. Fashion was my passion. Also, it was New York. So I said, one day I want to live there. I want to live there. So I applied for Parsons to my master's, and I decided to literally pack my bags when I got accepted, go to New York when I didn't know anybody, and then just start my fashion career there. I went to start from scratch everything, doing internships when I already have like a 5 to 6 years of experience in Mexico. Start from scratch with internships and from literally the bottom of sales and everything.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just learning the business.
Yeah.
So if I were to ask your mom, she was sitting here, would she say, oh, Karla always loved fashion. She always was that fashion one. Would she say that?
I don't think so. But she would say that I was always the one who it was willing to do something. Like every time when I was just like, you know what, I want to do this, I was doing it.
Yeah.
So I was always kind of like, I could say, the black sheep of my family in terms of always doing something different that everyone else in my family did.
Yeah.
Which is leaving my hometown when I was 18.
Wow.
Then moving to a different country when I didn't know anybody. I always loved fashion, yes. But I never thought I was going to really work in the fashion industry.
Yeah. A risk taker.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's funny because I think so often women will say, I don't like to take risks. I don't want to step out of my comfort zone. And you did that by leaving your country, by getting to New York. So take me to that moment in New York. You get there and you're like, okay, now I'm here. Like, now what?
Well, I started, I knew that if I wanted to find a job, I had to start doing internships. I've always been the person that I always try to say, what is my goal? So what I have to do to get into that goal. So I knew, okay, if I want to find a job here, what is going to be the first steps? So I knew that I have to have internships. So I literally, with no connections, no networking, no nothing, sending hundreds of resumes every day after school and after studying, just to wait for that opportunity, just to, have something to just start steaming clothing, like doing literally everything just to start having my step into the fashion industry.
Right.
While I was also studying full time.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. I not in the fashion industry, but when I published my book, when I sent off that manuscript so many times and it came back rejected,
Yeah.
Not interested. No. Too many things like this. No, you don't have a chance. Nope, not well written enough. Not this, not that. Constantly. I'm sure that was like that with your resume, right? You're sending it out, you're getting rejected.
Yeah. I mean, they always used to just get all these interviews and then say, you have a great experience, but we don't know. So, it was always something that probably gave me kind of gave me that shake, thinking about, should I just go back to my country? Should I just continue going what I was doing there? Go back, because in Elle magazine, they told me, that you're always welcome here, so you can come back. But I was always...
That's pretty fabulous.
It is, yeah.
That shows your reputation, your hard work, your commitment.
Yes. But I was also saying, if I go back, that's it, right? It's not like I always been trying to push, and I did it. I got my very first job after many internships that, as you know, in the fashion industry, they are not paid.
Right.
So it's start from scratch as an assistant in wholesale, which, as I say, I already have experience and many years that I really dedicated to build my resume in Mexico. But I didn't care. I didn't care to start from scratch.
Yeah, I think that's so fabulous. Yeah. Tenacity, resilience, fearlessness, and risk-taking. And you that can come with time, So for people that are listening or watching and saying, I have this dream. I want to do this, but I just don't think I can. That stops so many people from pursuing their passion. Yeah. So I applaud you for pushing through that, because it comes with challenge. Yeah. So let's talk about fearlessness. Let's talk about what your collection, Montsera, right?
Yes,
Is it like Montsera? Is that how you say
Montsera.
it? Oh, Montsera. Yeah. It's beautiful. And I first got a glimpse into it with one of my dear friends here. And she immediately texted me after she met you. And this is one of my dearest, oldest friends. She said, Amy, I just bought this incredible piece of clothing that I want you to see, but I want you to meet Karla, because there's a story there you've got to just uncover. So let's talk about this. You've launched this collective.
Yes.
And it is all really supporting artisans in Mexico. Yes. So let's walk through that. First of all, let's walk through exactly what this collective is and how you support those artisans. And then I want to talk about your trip there. I want to talk about that, because that's a whole story.
So working in the fashion industry, for many years, I just saw I was doing something that I like and something that I always tried to pursue. But then I was feeling kind of empty, knowing that I was doing something, but it wasn't giving me that happiness.
Right.
So I said, I want to do something that is meaningful for me and meaningful for the people that they are from my country, right? You see all these beautiful fabrics and everything from other countries, and they're so proud to say made in Italy, made in France and everything. And then I would say, why I cannot have something that it says made in Mexico? Right. So I wanted to just go back and just with all the experience that I have, which it wasn't in the fashion as a fashion designer. It was more in the sales, because I was always more focused in business. But what I told you, is for me was what I have to do in order to be a designer. So I went to study London. I did fashion design, because my very first sketches, which are terrible, I was just no one is going to understand.
I want to see those sketches.
You will see it. I literally...
You have to start somewhere.
It was, exactly. And I started literally just doing things, and no one, I used to send them to artisans, and they're like, I don't understand. So I have to send sometimes pictures, but then I have to say something. The artisans, they don't like copying. So as soon as they knew, okay, I was sending a picture, I was like, okay, something like this, but it's not like that. They were like, I'm sorry, we don't do that, because it's not something that we like to do. We like to create something that is unique and something that is comes from you or comes from us.
Yeah.
So then I say I have to stop before I start everything and do fashion design. So I did these 6 months of fashion design. Then I went back to Mexico, and then I started working with them. It took me almost a year.
It did.
For them to just start trusting me, especially. Because there have been so many people that they go take advantage of them. They go and they say, we're going to give you a job. You're going to be working. You're going to be doing this, and we will pay you your fair amount. And then after a few months, they say, well, you know what? What if you just start lowering your rates or do this or do that? And they just don't give them that credit that they do.
Right.
So,
and they speak a different language.
and they speak a different language. So
I learned that yesterday.
yeah.
I thought that was really, it's a different dialect? Or?
It's a dialect from the Mayan. So
Okay.
it's Tzotzil and Celtal.
Mm.
So I only talk to one of the kind of like, it's not represented, but it's like who can actually translate between them and myself. Which now I try to get some ideas and get some words that they say, because I want them to feel that I also involved with the culture. Like I don't want them just to feel. So sometimes I say, can you please tell me, how do you say this star? Or how do you say this? Because every single symbol that they create it for something. It comes from an inspiration, from something that they got inspired by nature, or something that they hear when they're like, I don't know, like washing their clothes, something like that.
Yeah.
So I always ask them, how do you say this? Can you please spell it for me? And then the next time when I design something and I incorporate that design or that symbol, I say, can you please put, and then I say it for them.
Really?
And they just get so happy.
That's amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's showing them so much respect.
Yes, exactly.
And honoring them for the hard work that they do, their culture. Oh, that's amazing. And they travel a long distance, right?
They do.
So let's talk about this story. Because yesterday when we were having coffee, literally the first time I met Karla, she said, oh, yeah. So I land in Mexico City and then, I have to kind of plan my time. And this was kind of an initial, from what I understood, an initial meeting to try and get some artisans to try to introduce yourself and your mission and what you want to do. And she got in a taxi, and then you wanted to go to a specific area, and the driver said, oh, I don't know, Karla. I don't know. So take me to that moment, because I think this will be amazing for the listeners.
So as soon as I say I need to move to Mexico to start like building this relationship with them, because obviously you cannot find anything on social media, right? Or on internet. So I got to Chiapas. San Cristobal de las Casas is the main city, if you want to call it, in Chiapas. And then I did a road just to say, okay, what is the textiles communities there? So Chiapas has everything is between the mountains. Like, there is no reception. There is nothing between any little town.
Wow.
Like you can drive for like 2-3 hours and don't see anything besides mountains and trees and everything. So I took this taxi. I didn't know anybody.
Alone. Mm-hmm.
Alone.
Mm-hmm. Fearless.
I went to these private taxis, and they say, can you please take me, how much it will be for the entire day? And I want to go to these communities. So it was one of these communities that is called Caracoles. They call it like that. And it's from this movement that they had in Mexico in the 90s called Zapatistas. So it's a specific type of little towns that they are protected still from these people that they're still in this movement, protecting their own people, because that's what they do. So I literally, without knowing anybody, I literally told the taxi, can you please drive me there? And he was scared to even get close. So he left me like 50 meters before, 100 meters before. And he said, you go on your own.
You go, yes. Lady, you go.
Yes.
Wow.
And I literally stepped in front of them, and they were just like, you couldn't see anything, only their eyes. And, like.
You said they were armed?
Yeah, they were armed, and they were kind of respectful, because, like, even though I was just like, everything inside of me was shaking. Everything, it was just like, I hope everything is fine and I go back to San Cristobal de las Casas. But I just told them, you know what? And that's what I did. I just say, I have this project, because it was a project. I didn't have anything.
Right.
And I say, I would like to just meet some weavers, and I would like to just meet these women, because I know that there is a specific type of weave that they create here. And of course, they reject it. They say no. But you know what? Like, I remember that week that I was traveling from place to place to place. There were so many times that I got inside of the taxi and I was crying. And the taxi driver, after a week that we became friends, he said, why are you crying? And I say, I feel like I shouldn't be doing this. I feel like I should just go back to where I'm working. And like in this case, it was New York.
In New York, yeah.
And continue, what I was doing. Like I just felt that it was not something that was actually going to happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is powerful.
Yeah.
I'm sure he looked at you and thought, wow, she's a badass.
Yeah.
And he probably moved a little closer then and didn't drop you off quite as far away because he's like, if she can do this, I can do this.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So you found these weavers, and I had the ability to see some photos, and I'm hoping when I put up the show, I'll be able to incorporate some of those in. I'd also like to go with you and see your collective and bring people along so they can see it too. So maybe we'll have a film crew do that because I think it would be fabulous. But these weavers are women. They're all women, correct?
Yeah.
And they do a certain type. I'm always thinking of a loom. Like that's what I picture weaving. And this is very different.
Yeah. So it's called backstrap loom. They start weaving. All these women, they start since they start learning this technique since they're like 6 or 7 years old because they create their own their own clothes. When you go to these communities, they all wear exactly the same clothes that they make. They don't wear T-shirts and jeans or anything. Even though if it's cold, they're always wearing this type of. But it's in every town they wear completely different clothing because for them is the meaning behind their specific dress or huipil. That's how it's called.
Wow.
And it has like some symbols or something that when you see them, you know, okay, she's from San Juan Cancun, she's from Carranza. You start noticing right away and you know from where they belong. And because they are so proud of where they're coming from.
Their heritage, yeah.
They exactly. And so they start weaving when they're very little. And it doesn't have to do anything with like a child labor or anything. It's something that they learn because then they know when they become, you know, like women, they're going to continue doing that. And hopefully they continue with these traditions for their own families.
Wow.
So it's as you said, it's a backstrap loom. So they attach this, you know, like a strap around their waist. And they have this, they attach the loom into a pole or a tree. So they actually, where they weave, they like to weave is in outdoors. Unless that is raining and they have to weave inside of the kitchen, which is not a kitchen.
Right.
And that's where they weave. They weave there. And for them, one day I remember I'd ask them, like, how do you feel? What do you feel? Because even if it's exactly the same artisan weaving to exactly the same design, they're always going to see something different.
Yeah.
For them, they told me it's a therapy for them because that's the one they disconnect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's their creative outlet as well.
Yeah. They say for me, weaving, because they weave between 6 to 8 hours every day. They say for me, it's the way that I disconnect from everything that is happening outside. And then I connect with myself, with the way that they call also that with the way that they can hear their heart. Because every time when they're doing the movement, the heart is going. So they know there is something alive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, just the story behind the brand is so amazing, so amazing. And we talked at the beginning about, you know, circles to horseshoes, you know, opening up your circle and allowing others in and not knowing where that might go. And that's your story. I mean, you now have relationships with these artisans. Yes. You know their families. You sent gifts for the holidays. I mean, that in and of itself is as an entrepreneur, you should be very proud of that because that is your story behind this brand. Now that is exploding and you have your collective. You're going to be leaving in the next few weeks to go back to Mexico and be there for a few months.
Yes. I mean, it's just important for me to have this personal connection with them because for me, as I told them since the day one, it's like, I'm not looking for someone who is my employee. This is something that we both are going to create because yes, I do the designs, but they are a mastermind. Like it's just sometimes I just say, well, we're going to do these colors. And you really want to do those colors? Because I don't think they look great. But so I give them the opportunity for them also to create something. I mean, with that design and the things that come so beautiful. So for me, it's important to get to know each other, their families, for them to know that I care about them besides just, can we please do this design?
Right. And you know, just mass produce so many. You're actually looking at the value and you're respecting them and their opinions and their talent, which is so lost in so many cases. So tell us where people can find you and where they can find your beautiful pieces.
So they can find me on Instagram,
Yeah.
Montsera Collective.
And you're doing stories now. We
And-
talked about this yesterday
Yes.
because the whole social media thing is so crazy. And I've been doing this a while. At days, I'm just like, oh my gosh, do I have to do it? But you're really trying to get your story out there.
Yes, exactly. Because I think it's so important for people to know the story behind. Of course, you see all this, as you said, in social media. That is, you have to be dancing. You have to, and I say, I don't want to do that. I want to.
I'm going to be me.
Yeah. I don't want to do that. But I love talking about my brand. I mean, yesterday we spent like an hour, and I think I even didn't stop talking. I love talking with people and just to share that. So people can find me on social media, Montsera Collective. And also on my website, Montsera Collective. I am in some boutiques in New York. I am in 2 boutiques that I actually carry emerging designers from Latin America.
Wow.
And I am in some hotels as well.
Yeah.
High-end hotels. So everything, I'm not looking for anything that is going to be a retailer.
Right.
I'm looking for something that it has a boutique that is,
well, everything's created with a story.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so special.
Exactly.
I love that. So before we close today, and I'll have everything linked to the episode notes so people can find you and reach out to you and get introduced to you. And I know we're going to do more. But, one question I have for you is, I heard a little bit of your story and, you said, I was kind of the black sheep. I always kind of did something a little differently. I got on a plane. I went to New York. I'm doing this. Like, I'm bold and brave. Take me to a moment. 2 questions. The first question is, I want you to take me to a moment when you were scared. You really were like, I don't know if I can do this. And for the people listening and watching, what did you do to overcome that?
I always feel I always think that you always want to have the fear with you. But what is important is for you to overcome that, for you to say, okay, why am I scared about this? For me, this moment was living my 10 years career in the fashion industry in New York when I was reaching that point that I say, you know what, this is what I dream for.
Yeah.
And starting something from scratch that who knows is going to work. So for me, it's always putting that there is no plan B. Because sometimes your head, it just brings you that, what if doesn't work? Well, I can go back to New York. I know I can go back to New York. I always knew that I could go back to Mexico, but I never did. Like, I never went back to Mexico. And I remember one time, my dad, when I was 18 and I left Guadalajara to Mexico City, he said, burn your boats. He says that, make sure when you leave, don't come back. And he didn't say it in the bad way.
Yeah.
He say, when you make a decision, go for it.
Be committed to it.
Be committed.
Believe in it.
And believe it. And there are going to be so many things that are going to happen. But if you always keep thinking about, well, I can go back, then you will never going to test yourself and what you can actually do.
You're never going to go forward.
Yeah.
Smart dad. Wonderful dad.
Yeah.
Last question for you is, if you were sitting on the couch and you look over and there's a younger version 10 years ago of Karla, what advice would you give her?
I would say, believe in yourself. And I would probably say 3 things. Believe in yourself, trust the process, and dream big. Because for me, I always, since I was, as I say, many people, I cannot tell you how many people they told me when I said I'm going to move to New York, they were just laughing at me. They were like, how are you going to do it? How are you going to find a job? How are you going to even get a visa? And I did it. And then when I said, I want to do this with the artisans, they were just like, oh, you don't even have idea how hard it is just to do something with artisans and start from this. And you have already your career. What are you doing? And I just feel like if you just don't believe in yourself, believe in the power that is inside of you. And on those days, I think it's specifically you believe in yourself in those days that you feel like, I just want to throw the towel and I want to go back. Yeah. Is that inside of you that says no.
That fire.
And that fire. Exactly. And trust the process because everything takes time. Nothing will come.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. Let's be honest. Anything in life. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
And there will be hiccups and there will be times when there's rest stops along the way. People ask me, what defines success for you, Amy? And there is no perfect path to success. There are rest stops along the way, and you learn from those. But you are so incredibly wise, and I'm just proud of you. I love meeting you. I love for myself to open my circle to a horseshoe and have this relationship, because I know we're going to do some things together. But I applaud you, and I look forward to watching you soar.
Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming on. Thanks so much for listening today. We know how valuable your time is, and that's why we keep it short and sweet. Don't forget to follow us on all the socials, and you can check out all the links and resources in the show notes. Until next time, go forth and be awesome.